deep within the frozen Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries was quietly waiting to unfold. It was the winter of 1959, when a journey into the wilderness would become a legend that still puzzles investigators today. What began as an ambitious mountaineering expedition would eventually become one of the world's most famous unexplained incidents. During the height of the Cold War, the vast Soviet wilderness remained one of the most remote and unforgiving places on Earth. Stretching for more than 2,000 kilometers, the Ural Mountains formed a frozen natural barrier between Europe and Asia. In winter, temperatures could plunge far below freezing, while powerful winds transformed the mountains into a deadly landscape. Leading the expedition was 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, a respected engineering student known for his leadership and experience. Joining him were 8 fellow hikers, each carefully selected for their experience, determination, and ability to survive harsh winter conditions. These were not inexperienced tourists. Every member had completed demanding expeditions before attempting this ambitious journey. Their objective was Mount Oterton, a challenging peak whose remote location tested even the most skilled mountaineers. Before departing, the group carefully packed food, cameras, journals, medical supplies, and equipment needed to survive the freezing wilderness. Friends and family wished them good luck, expecting the expedition to end with nothing more than remarkable stories and photographs. Day by day, the hikers traveled farther from civilization, leaving behind roads, villages, and every familiar sign of human life. As weather conditions rapidly worsened, the team established what would become their final campsite on a windswept mountain slope. Then, without warning, every message from the expedition stopped, marking the beginning of a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. The expedition was expected to return within a few weeks, but no message ever arrived from the mountains. At first, the delay raised little concern. Experienced mountaineers were often slowed by harsh weather and difficult terrain. But as the days passed, concern slowly turned into fear, and families began demanding answers from local authorities. Volunteers, experienced climbers, and military personnel were organized to search the vast frozen wilderness for any sign of the missing hikers. Battling deep snow, freezing temperatures, and powerful winds, search teams followed the expedition's planned route into the Ural Mountains. After days of searching, rescuers finally spotted something partially buried beneath the snow high on the mountainside. It was the hiker's tent, still standing against the wind, but strangely abandoned in the middle of the frozen wilderness. Food, warm clothing, boots, cameras, and personal belongings were still inside, as though everyone had left in extreme haste. Even more disturbing, investigators discovered that the tent had been slashed open from the inside rather than from outside. Whatever frightened the hikers, it was powerful enough to send them fleeing into the freezing night without proper winter clothing. Leading away from the tent, investigators found a trail of footprints stretching quietly across the untouched snow. Some footprints appeared to have been made barefoot, while others showed only socks or a single boot in the deadly cold. Instead of returning to safety, the trail continued downhill toward a dark forest nearly 1.5 kilometers away. There were no signs of panic, no evidence of a struggle, only an eerie silence across the frozen mountains. What started as a missing persons search had suddenly become one of the most baffling investigations in modern history. Following the trail into the forest, search teams reached a towering cedar tree where the first shocking evidence was discovered. Beneath the tree, investigators found the remains of a small campfire, suggesting the hikers had desperately tried to survive the freezing night. Nearby, the bodies of 2 expedition members were found close to the dying fire, wearing only minimal clothing despite the deadly cold. Between the cedar tree and the abandoned tent, rescuers discovered more members of the expedition lying motionless in the snow. Their positions suggested they had attempted to return to the tent, but never made it through the brutal winter conditions. Despite the discoveries, 4 members of the expedition remained missing beneath the deep snow. Weeks later, search teams uncovered a deep ravine hidden beneath several meters of snow not far from the forest. There, the remaining hikers were finally located after months of searching through the frozen landscape. Medical examinations revealed severe internal injuries that appeared far more powerful than those normally caused by exposure to the cold. Several victims had suffered devastating chest and skull injuries, yet remarkably, little external trauma was visible. One victim was found missing her tongue, a detail that has fueled decades of speculation and countless theories. Investigators also documented unusual clothing arrangements, shared garments, and other details that raised even more unanswered questions.
Tests later detected traces of radioactive contamination on some pieces of clothing, adding another layer to the growing mystery. Avalanche, animal attack, or violent conflict. None seem to fully explain every piece of evidence discovered at the scene. With every new discovery, the case became more confusing, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. Soviet investigators carefully documented the evidence, photographed the scene, and interviewed everyone connected to the expedition. Yet even after months of investigation, important questions remained unanswered and crucial details appeared to be missing. Eventually, the official investigation was brought to an end without identifying a clear cause for the tragedy. As years passed, the mysterious events at Dyatlov Pass slowly transformed from an unsolved case into an international legend. Decades later, many investigators still believe that something extraordinary happened on that frozen mountain during the winter of 1959. As news of the tragedy spread, investigators, scientists, and researchers began searching for answers that could explain the impossible. One of the earliest explanations suggested that a sudden avalanche forced the hikers to abandon their tent in the middle of the night. But critics argued that the slope showed little evidence of a massive avalanche, leaving many investigators unconvinced. Another theory proposed that powerful katabatic winds created extreme conditions capable of driving the hikers from their shelter. Some researchers believe unusual wind patterns may have generated low-frequency infrasound, potentially causing fear, confusion, and panic. Others questioned whether the hikers had unknowingly entered an area where classified Soviet military experiments were taking place. Several witnesses reported seeing mysterious glowing lights in the sky around the same time, fueling decades of speculation. The discovery of radioactive traces on some clothing only strengthened theories involving secret technology or military activity. Over the years, some even suggested that an unknown creature had attacked the expedition, although no convincing evidence has ever supported the claim. Others believed the strange lights and unexplained injuries pointed toward an encounter with an unidentified flying object, but no proof has ever confirmed this idea. Some investigators argue that exhaustion, freezing temperatures, poor visibility, and a series of difficult decisions may have led to the tragedy. Modern researchers have re-examined the available evidence using computer simulations, weather analysis, and advances in forensic science. While newer studies have supported certain natural explanations, they still leave several important questions unanswered. More than 60 years later, no single theory has successfully explained every piece of evidence found at Dyatlov Pass. Each explanation solves part of the puzzle, yet none has managed to solve the mystery completely. Decades after the tragedy, renewed investigations and modern scientific studies attempted to uncover what really happened on that frozen mountain. In recent years, Russian authorities concluded that a powerful natural avalanche was the most likely cause of the hikers' deaths. Yet many researchers continue to question that conclusion, pointing to unexplained injuries, unusual evidence, and details that still don't seem to fit. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the world's most fascinating unsolved mysteries, continuing to inspire investigations, books, documentaries, and debate. Sometimes history leaves behind questions that may never be answered. Whether the truth was hidden by nature, human secrecy, or something still beyond our understanding, the mystery of Dyatlov Pass continues to challenge us to keep searching. What do you think really happened on that cold winter night?